Um, Hello, audience. This is Max. I done goofed. Just to let you know about the audio this week. We had a thing and I recorded and I messed up on my thing. So I'm recording a little thing because none of my audio actually recorded. So just some things I want to talk about in the chapter that we ended up talking about is, just the big thing with Max talked about is how we had certain things that Gege set up that never fully flowered. That was kind of annoying. The big one I mentioned was we had the scene of Kaori showing Kaori was taken over by Kenjaku, making Kenjaku technically Yuji's son, and how that nothing came of that. There's been no talk of that since, really. Just I don't know what else I really talked about, but yeah, so stuff like that was something big. And then I kind of mentioned something about how you know, just I had a little discussion with Nick about how the curse tool he has is a little cop out, and Yorozu wasn't really useful. It seemed like so. There was my quick thoughts. Please listen to the rest, and we'll have everything figured out for next time. Bye.
Hello and welcome back to the Jumpcast. I'm Max and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Max and Nick.
Hello.
Today is episode 52 of the Jumpcast, and we are covering chapter 245 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which came out earlier this morning. I'm gonna throw it over to Nick for the recap.
Sounds good. I'll try to keep it brief. So we start off this chapter, what is it, after a break, starting off with Hikari versus Urame, where we see that she freezes Hikari's arm. It explains a little bit of how her curse technique works, which is basically her curse energy is at a super cooled state, so it freezes anything. That's like the essence of the ice formation. Arame tries to break his arm off with the ice, and then she's just like, "You're done." And then she gets shocked because Hikari regenerates fast enough to grab her face and slam it through a building. Um, and so then we get some feats right here saying that Hikari's regeneration is faster than Sukuna or Gojo when he's in his what is it, jackpot state. And they just continue fighting. Arame freezes his shoe for a second, so he pulls it off and kicks her in the face. And he's happy that I found it. So I think that maybe Gege's playing at the fact that everyone's just like, dude, look at them. What is it there? The Jordans? Not a shoe guy. Yeah, yeah. And so then Arame compliments Hikari, saying that I don't know, maybe he doesn't value his life as like regular humans do, probably due to the fact that he's in this jackpot state. Um, And so then I don't know, I guess that's just a compliment. And then she says, I'll crush you with everything I have. Hikari relates this back to Yuta. Uh, and I don't really get that part. He said, like, he's the gloomy sort, but speaks up when he has to come through when it, up when he has to and comes through when it counts. So it really moved me. So then they continue the fight. But then we cut back to the court trial where Judge Man says that Yuji stands accused of mass murder in Shibuya. Higuruma goes on this whole spiel just saying that, like, this, like, trying to explain the domain to Sukuna, explain the evidence and everything. Sukuna just like, cut it out. I already know how this works when I was in the boy's body. Let's just get it over with. And so then Judge Man says that they're guilty, confiscation and death penalty. And we go back to the battle. Higuruma gets the executioner's sword. He's saying that, like, hey, we actually have a chance to get rid of him and killing him with the sword, because their chances rose. Uh, a bunch of the other people from Jujutsu High jumped in, Ino, Choso, Kusakabe, and then we see the line, "Do you want to die, Higuruma?" I'm assuming that was said by Sukuna. And as he realizes that standing, Kusakabe runs up and tries to cover Higuruma as they both get hit with some somewhat shallow slashing attacks. I mean, they're they're not as bad as they were on Kashimo, and we learned that the confiscation did not apply to Cleave and Dismantle, but it went to his baby rattle dagger weapon. I forgot the proper name of it. Martial Solution, that's what I think it was. Um, so yeah, we see as Higuruma stunned because he's just like, oh crap, everyone jumped in, and he still has his curse technique. So yeah,
Yeah, this
um,
this this was just a super eventful, everything I could have hoped for chapter.
yeah. Um, what is it? I'm gonna try to wait to go over this later because like the fandom is very mixed on this chapter. But like overall, reading it, I think it was a pretty good chapter. But I don't know. We'll go over Marshall's solution and the curse tool later. But Pruden, what did you think of the chapter? Mm, yeah. What is it? I think that like what is it? I'm happy that we started off with like Hikari versus Urame. I kind of suspected that they would do that after the break just because Gege pulled that on us before with Higuruma and Yuji jumping into the battle, and then we go to Takaba versus Kenjaku. Um, so I'm happy that we got a little bit of that. Um, I don't know what is it, uh, what Arame was doing. I know that it's probably not a domain, but it looked like it for a second, and it scared me because it's just like, uh-oh, how is this gonna work? Um, and then what is it? I think that the trial was really fun. Um, I'm everyone like was like had so many theories during like the break week. Like, of course, there's like the average lobotomy Kaizen stuff. Um, but then there was like saying like, oh well, during the time that it takes place, December 24th is a holiday and no executions can take place on a holiday. Like seeing how Sukuna would argue his way out of it, and I'm so happy that he's just like, okay, show me the sword, I just want to get this over with. My really big issue comes to Martial Solution being confiscated instead of Cleave and Dismantle. It makes sense because it is a physical weapon, so I think that that stands to be more of a threat in the domain compared to like Cleave and Dismantle. Um, but like just to break it down really quickly, I feel like it Marshall's solution feels like a MacGuffin. I feel like that's what it's been used for like this entire end of the fight after Gojo. Like it's just like, oh, we're gonna give him a special grade curse tool that he used back in the Heian era, but it's gonna use electric attacks, so Kashima's gonna be resistant to it, and then we're gonna have it get negated by Higuruma. It feels like Gege wrote in this weapon just to kind of defend Sukuna from all of these possibilities of like how hypothetically he could have lost to Higuruma's domain. Um, yeah. And it makes the fight against Yorozu also just like meaningless because like Sukuna doesn't learn anything from that fight besides like, oh man, I could use Maharaga here, like everything like that. Like what she says, just like I'll teach you what love is. And then he throws that away. He's like, love is useless. People praise me due to my strength, and I give it to them. Um, like that whole thing with Kashimo, and then like again, like the weapon is just what's taken away. It's just like we haven't seen it be used. We saw it be used once and then it's gone. So it's just really frustrating.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Um, I watched a YouTube video, kind of like analysis on the whole of JJK and kind of the core flaw of the series, and that was something that I wanted to bring up here. And it works really well with this chapter. Gege is flying through the story, and I feel like we're not. He's not giving us enough time to sit and chill with anything. Yeah, like we're never sat with any kind of emotional what's the word I'm looking for? We don't sit with the characters and deal with the emotional weight that they might be feeling with the um effects of anything past Shibuya. Like we get that a little bit with Yuji, but even then we're constantly in this fight. I mean, well this is the key flaw, at least according to the video, and I kind of agree with this. Jujutsu Kaisen focuses too much on keeping momentum and is not allowing the ups and downs of the natural flow of a story to really manifest, and instead is just trying to be on go mode 24/7, constantly having like new things, perpetuating it in this one big bell curve that is now becoming kind of dry because now we've reached the peak of this bell curve, and it's just been going straight for so long that we don't, like, so many people died in Tokyo, period, and we just have seen none of the effects of that. Like we don't know what's going on in the world. We don't know what's going on with half the characters and like the family members of those characters, if they even have any. And additionally, another point from that video is that the world building of Jujutsu Kaisen is extremely limited. Like we know basically nothing of the Heian era. We know bits and pieces. We know things here and there that are just quick references to things that are more like cool fun facts rather than an actual backstory building. Um, and I think people initially signed on to Jujutsu Kaisen because they thought they were eventually going to get that, but now they're realizing that it's just a bunch of dudes beating the shit out of each other for the sake of doing it, and they don't, like, there's like a point to it, but we're just never going to find out because it's more about the power scaling than anything.
Mhm.
That was a long
I
rant.
no, I like that you brought up that video because I think that it got a lot of views as well, and I remember mainly the world building part. Um, what is it? The one thing that I'm gonna argue on just for a second is that I do think that we get moments of people of like what is it? The first thing that you talked about, how like we don't see like the emotions of our characters after something big happens, and I agree that that's happened recently, but we've gotten bits of that before, like specifically I'm thinking of like Yuki and Choso versus Kenjaku. Like we get that moment of like Choso just like sad holding the back of the prison realm,
Mhm.
just saying just like Yuki's gone and what is it, Noritoshi Kamo is still alive. um but I agree that like recently, like Gege has really been on like a, okay, let's get the series done with. Like he literally just announced at Jump Festa that this is probably going to be the last time that JJK is in Jump Festa, insinuating that the series is going to end in 2024. Um, and like he has tried to build up on so many things that just kind of like fall flat. Like a good example is that like he did try to focus on like the rest of the world, realizing that like cursed energy and cursed spirits are a thing. Like Tokyo, like their stocks are falling, like the government doesn't know what to do. Excuse me, Japan. And then like Yuki tries to point out that like, hey, world superpowers are gonna be on Japan's ass now with this revelation. Like China and the US, there are consequences that can happen. And then we never see that get fulfilled. Like the most that we get is that like, oh man, the US brought soldiers into Japan and then a bunch of them died just to fuel the culling game. I think that that was really lazy writing on Gege's part. and that I agree that like we don't get that much when it comes to world building.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like there's a serious flaw. Um, like just to be more specific, again, quoting from the video. Um, sorry, I'm building up to something here. The specific thing in the video that was mentioned was the relationship between Akatsu and Maki, and how Maki just killed her whole family, and there's never a point where Yuta's like, "Hey, what the fuck?" Like there's never a scene, never any kind of confrontation or even a conversation about it, and none of the other characters really mention it. Um, and that I mean, come on. It was badass and it was a really cool character arc, but it just kind of ended and then there was no other, like, it made no waves with the other characters, and that was a really big issue. But another thing, last night I watched a like on Netflix, Frankenstein's Monsters Frankenstein, which is the cop from Stranger Things. I can't remember the David Harbour, I think.
Harbor, yeah.
Yeah, he made this, I don't know if it's him exactly, but he's like the star of this 30-minute short making fun of like actors and documentaries and like revitalizing old stories and such. But there's like a key joke in there about the writing concept of Chekhov's gun, which is according to the playwright Anton Chekhov, I think is his name. Um, if you put a gun in the first scene of a play, it has to go off by the end of the play, meaning it has to be fired. Gege has been doing that over and over again with every single character, and the guns have only sometimes been fired. That I mean, that's just
Can you give a good
this
example?
like well, okay, I'll just go back to that American example. Like, okay, maybe this isn't exactly the best comparison, but the gun is fired, but then the consequences aren't explored, I think is my point. Where the Americans come, they're killed, but then the American government doesn't care that a bunch of like elite soldiers, or maybe not even elite soldiers, just regular infantrymen are just gone and dead. And like the government's like I mean, the world just feels like it's only these characters, and that's what's making this story simple. And that's what's frustrating, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing, is that we don't even know, like, we know that Kenjaku is Yuji's dad or mom, dad, whatever, parent, technically mom, but that's besides the point. It doesn't, like, we don't know why. It's like a setup of a, again, I reference Dungeons and Dragons way too much, but this feels like a setup for a villain, which it is, that isn't fully complete. The audience understands basically probably what the villain wants, but even then we don't get enough of a backstory where we understand the point of any of this. Like, Kenjaku's dead, quote unquote, and he said, "Oh, but it'll still be complete. Like, his plan will still be completed." Great. We still don't fully know. Like, we know that he wants to merge everybody, and like, and he has a similar motivation as Ghetto, but it still just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It
Like, we
goes along
still
with like what weird jujutsu stuff is compared to like
right.
get stuff. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, no, no. My that was my point. But I'm good.
Yeah. And I mean, like, what is it? I think the other thing is that I agree fully with that, and like maybe not even the consequences, but like the what is it? I feel like Gege tries to establish a lot of hype when it comes to like those Chekhov gun moments, and then like they fall flat on their face, like that whole America sequence.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they have Niwa. Yeah, weak. Yeah, super weak. Um,
Hmm.
mm,
It's also that
I
like
get that.
we don't have any characters from the outside world, period, that are reoccurring. We get instance, yeah, like what should what sorry, what I feel like should have occurred was to have Gege write in a character, maybe from one other country, China, United States, doesn't matter, that ends up becoming a part of the culling game because the soldiers got brought, like even just one of the soldiers, like an American soldier gets brought in, joins the culling game, develops a curse technique, and then even then we just get a character that helps build the world and then also brings a different perspective to everything. Like they could be the direct line to the American government and the Japanese government. Like they could be getting radio communications, and maybe the governments had everything. Like this would be kind of a cop out, but still would work better than what we have now, where the governments are now cooperating with Jujutsu High to be able to stop Sukuna, who very clearly just wants to kill everything for the sake of it, or even like stop Ghetto, who like is the threat to the entire human race, but like just nobody, like there's no interaction. It's just Jujutsu High and those associated with it directly, and there's no other characters that help us build the story outside of this very small pocket that apparently affects everything, but we can't see how it affects everything. Hmm.
Yeah,
I
some
feel like,
consequences.
yeah, it kind of seems to me like Gege has fallen into the trap of, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is my guess, that Gege has fallen into the trap of listening to their fans too much and maybe has been trying to cater to the genre rather than tell the story that they actually want to tell. Because
Explored.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I
Sorry.
oh, sorry, go.
No, Nick, you go. We keep cutting you off.
Yeah, thank you. No, I agree, and I think that what is it? It could be a part of the fan base, but I think genuinely a lot of it probably just has to be Gege himself. Probably just getting. It could be that he just got tired of the story. That could be a big factor behind it.
Hmm.
Um, or that like he had different plans. And then like he talked to his producers about it, or not producers. I forgot what the name. They're his editors, and they're just like, "Oh, that's not a good idea." Okay, and then he's like, "Oh, I want to wrap this up. I have other ideas that I want to explore." When it comes to just manga in general, and then we're getting this sort of uh near end conclusion. Um, I mean, the other thing is that we're also complaining about this, but we could see that like for some reason all of these points get explored right afterwards for some reason. Um, like at the very end of the series, just because he wants to tie up everything, which I think would
Hmm.
still be kind of a cop out. Um, but right now I agree. It's just frustrating. And I mean, what is it? I'm still happy that we're getting these fights. It's very fun. Um, but it would have been nice to have some pieces explored of like how does the rest of the world respond to this in like everything going down in Japan. But yeah,
I
that's the end of my point.
no, I agree with you. I feel like Gege's just burnt out and
Mhm.
just doesn't know to how to. I don't know. Just doesn't know how to manage it. I guess
Yeah.
doesn't know how to deal with all of these separate opinions on his story, and I feel like he. Well, I don't know. I feel like this Jujutsu Kaisen is suffering from the same issue that almost all media globally is suffering, where we've reached the point economically where things are being forced to be developed as quickly as possible, as cheaply as possible, but with the highest quality possible, so that the people who are funding this can make the most money and get the greatest return on their investment.
Mhm.
It
But at
just
the same
sucks,
time,
man.
make while putting the least amount into it. Yeah. Uh, but yeah. Who knows? Maybe he'll have some extra bits that he writes in later after the series is over.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Or just one shots about all the plot holes. That would be awesome.
yeah. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. I really want a sequel series focusing on Yuki. I think that would be so fun
That
to.
would be. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. She comes to that conclusion. Yeah, I don't know. What is it? I still want to give Gege the benefit of the doubt that he will try to fix these up near the end. Like, I think if anything, the only way that we could get that like real world perspective is when we see the merger take place, which he may be doing right now. So
Hmm.
like these fights, we're just gonna like have a chapter where it's just like news coverage and um just like there's a black box and then it's just like uh-oh, what's going on to me, what and then like the merger takes place
Yeah.
and we see how the rest of it ends. Um, but yeah. Um, oh yeah, this is gonna switch off the topic a little bit back to like the current chapter. Um, just because the fans are really mad about the whole situation of like Cleveland Dismantle not being confiscated. Um, I think the other big complaint that people have is that Higuruma didn't take that into account.
Right.
Um, especially because like they had 2 months to prep this fight, or about a month. Um, and like Higuruma didn't think once, oh, I should try to test my domain if there's a curse tool in it and see if confiscation works. I think that that's just kind of ridiculous.
I bet. Well, they also didn't. I think the thing that it's not explicitly stated, but I feel like in defense of the characters, I don't think they would have expected Sukuna to leverage a curse tool since he's so powerful. The problem is that we weren't said. It wasn't that wasn't said anywhere in the manga, so therefore the characters weren't necessarily thinking that, or at least we don't know that they were thinking that. But
My argument to that is that they are part of Jujutsu High, and like during the whole chapter with like Hashimo gaining the third eye and like talking about the legend of Sukuna, there's no doubt that Jujutsu High had that knowledge, like from like like from like some history book stating what Sukuna was and like the weapons that he had,
mm,
and like not expecting that somehow he would be able to get a hold of that, or that he wouldn't be proficient in a curse tool that he would bring. Like I feel like that's kind of ridiculous. The fact that
yeah,
Kashimo knew that and he was just like, "Oh, I'm smoke demon this up. I can handle it." Um, or even just watching Kashimo do that, and just be like, "Oh, I should take that into account as well." Um, I think that that's just kind of frustrating.
yeah. Actually, I agree with you more. Never mind.
Thank you. Um, but yeah, he's stated as a genius. Yeah, it's just really frustrating. I feel like that's just like also an oversight by Gege, the fact that he wrote that in. And like it doesn't help as well with like the fact that like we don't know if Uro is still alive or not, but she could have given that information to someone at Jujutsu High, and that there's literally like a painting of Sukuna holding his weapons, claiming how he defeated these squads and like destroyed the what is it, the Emperor.
Hmm.
Yeah. Or like test it on Kashimo, because I'm sure that Kashimo has killed someone and he wields a curse tool. It's something that what is it, infuses with his own curse energy and he's able to shoot lightning out of it. Like why not just test that out? Exactly. Especially because like Kashimo was gonna fight Sukuna anyways, so why would they not take that into account, that he could just grab the curse tool that Kashimo uses? Oh, I'm so sorry. I should be the one in there, not Higuruma. I would have thought of this.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that he's the one in the back. He's the one in the far back. Oh, I thought you were talking about Choso. Yeah, Choso's not in frame. Oh, wait, no, he's oh, never mind. I may just be reading that as rubble, but the thing next to Yuji that looks somewhat darker on the right. Yeah, yeah. I have it that's so nice. I love it. Mm. I yeah. I what is it? I also love that Kusakabe was able to read the situation. Uh what is it like? But when it says like the narrator says, but Sukuna and Higuruma had realized that their chance of success was a sham. I feel like that's kind of a lie. The fact that Kusakabe knew that that the slices were coming and that he covered Higuruma to try to take the hit for him. Uh, I feel like that shows that again he has really good battle IQ, and that I love it because he's been the big tactician of like this entire thing of like how are we gonna get rid of Sukuna and Kenjaku, and that he's even stepping in when he's notoriously known for hating fighting. And he's willing to jump in and like save like probably the one chance to get rid of Sukuna, which is the Executioner sword. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Um, I also want to see Ino's last summon, like the one that is now that like nobody has survived seeing that one. So that makes me very excited. Um, and I really think that the plan is now, this kind of goes into our predictions, but it's gonna be like, okay, even though that he has cleave and dismantle, we're still gonna try to get him because this is our best chance. Like we can, like Higuruma can't ask for a retrial. Um, mhm, mm, yeah, yeah. Like how Yuji did all of that. Like
Hmm.
like his curse energy output is down. It could have also been because like um he was already like chanting like Kashimo again, just saying like he has the body perfect for Jujutsu. Like he can have one part of his body chant and the other one execute those chants. Or like with the curse technique. So I think that like he just immediately is like, okay, I'm just gonna throw out the cuts and see if it takes him down in one go. Uh and luckily it didn't. So yeah. And maybe we'll see what Yuji can actually do now, because I feel like after he sees that, he's gonna be like, "Oh shit, if anyone's gonna die, it's gonna be me. I'm throwing myself in there so that Higuruma can get the slash in." Yeah, he's like, "What's that?" Like he's confused. But yeah, for how much we shit on the series, still hyped as fuck for the next chapter.
Hmm.
Yeah. Drees, what are you thinking?
Man, I am just listen. As many flaws as there are with the story, and as many things that are difficult, I am in the same boat where I'm gonna come back next Sunday and I'm gonna read it, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
be the motherfucker who's like, "Go Yuji, go! Come on, let's fucking do this!" And just like, okay, I just can't. This is the most engaging thing I have been consuming. Period. And every Sunday I wake up and I don't even I don't shower, I don't do anything. I sit in bed and I read the fucking chapter. And
Same thing here.
I'm so excited for what happens next.
Yeah, like that's the one thing that you can't take down from this. What is it? This has like been this series has been my personality for the past 2.5 years.
Pretty
I'm not
much.
gonna I'm not gonna let it go down. Yeah. Yeah. And like none of them get as much attention as JJK. I mean, we say that as we're in the community, but like I think it's always like JJK gets hype, One Piece and My Hero. Like
Yeah.
because I was also a part of those communities for a little bit and I remember like the hype around leaks because they all happen on the same day. But there's like nothing else like that. Like what is it? I read Blue Box in Shonen Jump as well. Nobody ever talks about the leaks. Nobody ever
Hmm.
does, even though that it's a popular series. Nobody talks about Kagurabachi. Yeah, exactly. Dandadan is released digitally, and so is Chainsaw Man. So like we can never really get leaks for those. Um, but I know that like when those series were going on, like Chainsaw Man is still going on, but like the hype has kind of died down on it compared to like again JJK and
Right.
maybe One Piece. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what is it? It's also the best selling out of everything here. The only other ones that I know that the leaks kind of have hype for is back even before JJK was Berserk, because the once a year release and then like it was also a physical magazine, everyone would be like, oh, Berserk chapter this year, let's
Hmm.
go. Um and then I see leaks for Blue Lock as well, but that's also just because I read it. Yeah. That's the best-selling series this year. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah,
That's probably a good place to end it.
yeah, great chapter.
Great chapter. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of revelations. That feels like a nice little, like kind of like a toxic friend type thing. But
Yeah,
anyway,
for
that's a dumb
for
comparison.
real. No, I get that. Just like, God damn it. I still love him though. I still
Yeah.
love him.
God.
But
Anyway, thank you for those who are listening for listening to episode 52 of the Jumpcast. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for coming and listening to what we have to say. We hope it's valuable. We hope it's entertaining. And we hope that you join us next week for episode
yeah,
53 of the Jumpcast. So
exactly.
enjoy the rest of your Sunday, Monday, whatever day you're listening to this on. And I hope I have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night. See you next week.
Bye.